What up?
Hello, everybody. Hi,
Welcome.
everyone. I can see people hopping in. Hello. Thank you
Sweet.
for being here. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today, How to Lead Your Dream Destination Retreat with Pedro Luna. This is going to be a fantastic session full of information and strategies. If you are looking to start a retreat or to fine-tune what you've already offered, you are in the right place. If you are new to Offering Tree, my name is Sinead. I am part of the Offering Tree team. I'm also a yoga teacher and I'm in Calgary, Alberta. And I'm gonna hand over to Pedro shortly, but I'm gonna run through my housekeeping first. So drop your name in the chat. Let me know that the chat is working. Tell us your name and tell us where is your dream destination retreat. Let's have some fun with this today. It might be your backyard. It might be somewhere a little bit more exotic. Just let us know what is your dream to plan and host a retreat, or maybe just to attend one. And then for some housekeeping, keep the questions coming in the chat. Pedro and I will keep an eye on that. The replay is going to come out as soon as it is ready, I promise. And if you're here for the replay, you'll see all the links that we share underneath the video. They'll also be in the replay email. There'll be lots of ways to get in touch with Pedro, and you'll get some offers and discounts coming your way as well as usual. So keep the questions coming in the chat, and I'm just about to hand over, I promise. But before we dive in, I want to quickly mention that this webinar is brought to you by us, Offering Tree. We're an all-in-one platform designed to support wellness entrepreneurs like you, especially when it comes to things like hosting retreats. You can start a landing page, and to promote your retreat, you can accept payments seamlessly. You can set up payment plans, set up automated emails, manage all your registrations, collect forms. There's so much that you can do. It's all in one place. It simplifies it all, cuts out a lot of the extra cost of extra subscriptions and learning different tools. So that is who we are. If you wanted to start a free trial with us today, or if you wanted to get a huge discount, you can use that link on the screen, and I'll also share it in the chat. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Pedro and I'm going to take a look at the chat.
Sweet. Thanks, Sinead. Thanks for the introduction. Hi, everybody. Welcome to How to Lead Your Dream Retreat Destination. My name is Pedro, and I'm really excited to be here. I know some of your names in the chat because you're inside of my mentorship group. So welcome in, mentees. Those of you that don't know me already, I'm Pedro. I'm passionate about yoga, leading, hosting, and dream retreats. I'll share my screen in a moment, but I just want to welcome everybody in and thank Offering Tree for having me today to be able to share this information with you. I've been leading retreats for a really long time. I've been mentoring yoga teachers on how to lead retreats for a really long time. And I'm excited to be able to just give you some insight on like kind of what it takes to be able to bring something like this to life. Whether you're a solo, a yogipreneur on your own, like me, just like kind of like YOLOing it out in the world and trying to figure it out, or whether you're a studio owner and already and have like that going on for yourself, this will be able to be applicable and appropriate for you. I love seeing the places that you've named in the chat. I've hosted retreats in actually a lot of these places, so I'm excited to share with you a little bit about that today. We can answer specific questions more on that at the end. Along the way, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. Sinead will be looking at the chat. I probably will be too, little bits as I'm going through the presentation. This isn't like a boring document presentation. Yes, there is a slide deck. But hopefully I'll keep you entertained and engaged and excited to be learning this information. If you're driving in a car, just listening to this like a podcast, you can do that too. You don't have to necessarily pay attention to the whole time to the screen. You can just kind of put it in your ear and just like take what you need and leave what you don't. And it'll also be on replay and sent out to you post after recording. Sinead will send this out after the live session, send you a recording of it as well. So I'm excited to see where some of you want to go in the chat. Tulum, Costa Rica, Iceland. I've actually hosted retreats in all of those countries, and they're all awesome. I've hosted in North Carolina in the mountains. I've done that. I've never hosted in northern Minnesota, Joe. I've never done that before, but I've hosted in a lot of these places that you're naming in the chat, and I'll just offer some insights on that as we continue to roll through this presentation today. So I'm gonna hit the screen share now, and then you'll let me know that it appears okay. Why is it showing you my email? Hold on, let me stop the share. Let me try this again.
Always a risk. It's always a
Yeah,
risk.
it really is.
Yeah, I can see
I
that.
don't want that one, or this happened to me last time I was on screen share. I don't want these
And we
photos.
were just
I
testing
just screen
it.
shared. I just screen shared. Okay, here we go. There we go. I
There it
just
is.
screen shared, and then there's that. In any
Looks good.
event, we're trimming that out of the recording. If not, then if you just heard me say that, it actually didn't get trimmed, which is fine. So let's rock and roll. So how to lead your dream retreat destination retreat. So today we're going to talk about learning how to plan, sell, and lead yoga retreats inside of your yoga business so you can travel and teach all around the world. If you are not a yoga teacher, this will still be applicable to you, whether it's like a wellness retreat or adventure retreat, this will be applicable to you. It doesn't necessarily have to be yoga retreat. So I just wanted to preface that too, just in case you were wondering. Let's rock and roll. So you're going to get tremendous value today as a future retreat leader. Just stick with me and I'll teach you our process of planning, selling, hosting incredible retreats. I'm going to give you my secrets. I've been doing this for a long time and best practices just to help you host these amazing retreats and add money into your yoga business. Like nobody's in the business of hosting retreats to lose money. Has that happened before? 100% that's happened before. Probably more times than I'd like to say. Of that I've heard horror stories of that happening. But my goal is for you today to be able to plan this thing and make it profitable and be really excited about taking your community somewhere amazing in the world. So here's the game plan for today. It's about 60 minutes long is this masterclass. We're going to be covering planning, selling, and hosting your dream retreat. I'll answer your questions at the end with Q&A. Along the way, if there's something that's really relevant to the exact slide or conversation we're having in that moment, I'll pause and answer it if applicable. If not, we'll parking lot that till the end. And at the end of the masterclass, I'll let you know about some opportunities if you'd like to work with me. And I'll mention, show you, talk to this a little bit about offering trees. Sinead already kind of talked about it. So if you have any questions about that, we'll be able to answer offering tree questions as well. Cool. So who am I? I'm Pedro. I'm the co-owner of the Next Level Yoga community and the Academy. The community, we lead retreats all over the world. We're leading 6 retreats this year, 6 last year, next year. And then I have an academy where we mentor a lot of yoga teachers and wellness entrepreneurs on how to, grow and scale their business from retreats to building out their studio to all sorts of different things that I do. So that's kind of like who I am. I'm also the guy on the internet that makes the memes about yoga. If you've never seen yogi memes on Instagram, I've been making memes about yoga for 10 years. So I definitely have an element of lightness and humor that just like naturally comes from my heart, through my mouth, and into your ears. And so if you like laughing, enjoy good times, you're in the right place today. And we're going to do some learning too. So I ask you to set other matters aside and be present if you're at a desk or something, like just like maybe turn your phone on D&D, put it off to the side and just like soak up this info. If you're driving, maybe just listen, and that's okay. But just do your best you can be present for this experience so that we can gain as much insight and knowledge as we can. Before we move on to questions, I just have a couple questions. If you want to throw in the chat, just kind of gets the energy flowing in the chat. I'm assuming the answer is yes. If you want to type Y or N in the chat, do you desire to expand your yoga offerings beyond the 4 walls of your local studio, your own studio, or teaching your online classes? Like, is that something, is that a vibe? If it's a vibe, put it in the chat. Type Y in the chat if that's a vibe for you today, that you desire to be able to do this thing beyond the walls of a studio. I assume it's a Y, but if it's an N, I think you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. But let me know if it's a Y or an N in the chat. We'll keep it lighthearted. We'll keep it fun. Nice. Let's do this thing. Let's do this thing. C. C is appropriate too. A C is appropriate too. Cool. And I'm assuming this too, you desire to make deeper connections with your students while getting the opportunity to travel the world. I assuming that's also a C as in SI or a Y. I assume so too. Yes? Thumbs up. Keep it rolling, keep it flowing, because we're rocking and rolling. Cool. So as I mentioned earlier, this masterclass is for the yoga teacher or studio owner who aspires to lead life-changing experiences for their community, but maybe doesn't know where to start. You want to add like a 5-figure income into your yoga business or your wellness business with every retreat that you get to host. That sounds like a freaking vibe, yeah? And then you have a community of students who think that you would like to take a retreat with, like they want to go with you somewhere. If you have those things kind of like running in your head and you have the community for it, let's roll through it. My goal for you today is to feel really empowered with a vision of hosting your very own yoga wellness retreat at an amazing location and be able to add 10K plus to your bottom line. Who doesn't want that in their life? Nobody doesn't want that in their life. And if you're thinking to yourself, like, that sounds great, but like planning retreats seems like freaking overwhelming. You don't know how to find the right location. You don't know how much to charge. You don't know what to teach at the retreat, how to build an itinerary, or how to market and sell it. If you don't know how to do that, we're going to give you some strategies and some tips and some real insight, not like something that ChatGPT would just tell you to do, like actual things that I've learned and that I actually am doing right now as we speak, as I'm launching new retreats tomorrow for my community. So I'm actually doing all of this right now. I got you. Take a big, naughty Shodana breath if you need one, in through your left and out through your right, and then vice versa if you need a little grounding. Let's dive in. I want to know this. I want to know, and this is really, really important, right? I want to host, this is your why, and this is something you're going to return to a lot as you go through this process of building your dream retreat, because this is a long, long process. So coming back to your why is really important. And so like, why do you want to do this? And you can put it in the chat if you want to, or you can just put it on your paper. Like, I want to host a yoga retreat by this date, like this time of year, fall of 2026, summer 2020, whenever it is, so that I can blank. Like, why do you really want to do this? It can't just be for the money. It can't. Like, why do you really want to do this? Ask yourself that question. And if you want to throw it in the chat, that's great. But your why is the most important part of the steps, the first step in bringing this retreat to life. Why do you really, really want to do this? Ask yourself that question. And if you don't know, that's okay. You're just like, I don't know, it sounds like a good idea. Like, but be honest with yourself and just write it down. And if you want to throw it in the chat, throw it in the chat.
We are quiet. I think it's got everybody thinking.
It's okay. Yeah, and I'll it's a psych pause for myself because I'm extra a lot, y'all. I can talk a lot. I can give you a lot of insight, but I want you to take this moment for introspection.
So Pooja is saying April of 2026, so I can take my dream further. I want to take the idea of yoga to more than an hour class for my students. I love that.
Amazing, Pooja.
Joe is saying to build community among my clients.
Amazing. That's my favorite part. For me, and I'll share my why is to bring people together over the thing I'm most passionate about, which is yoga and adventure and travel. That's why I want to do it, and it makes these eternal bonds of people that get to come together and make lifelong friendships and camaraderie. My superpower that I talk about on these retreats, we always do like an opening circle and talk about like what is our superpower? Like what's the thing that like you're really good at that maybe not everybody knows? And mine is a connector, being able to connect people to other people and to things. And so that's my superpower. So I'm going to share a little bit about with you today about my superpower being a connector, as I've been doing this for a really, really long time. Cool. Sinead, go
Letitia
ahead.
saying for 2026, I want to deeply introduce people to their bodies while immersed in nature. That's awesome.
Love that. Love that. And hold on to the why. Today, I want you just to hold on to the why and let go of the how of like, how is it going to come together? Like, how am I really going to do this or really figure it out? Just really hold the why in your heart. That's like a really, really important part of today's conversation. Just hold the why in your heart and have that intention on your paper. Hold that. Okay, we're going to go through 2.5 kind of phases today. Phase one of bringing this thing to life is knowing your retreater, knowing your community member, setting the right intention, determining kind of like the location that you'd like to bring them to, or like the style of place that you like to have a community experience at, how to find a venue, kind of like what that looks like, and what does a high level itinerary look like. That's a lot of information. We'll dumb it down a little bit in just a little bite-sized chunks. You feel free to take any pictures you want of all these screens, like steal all my stuff, do whatever with it. I don't care. Because if that helps you like remember more and build something that connects you, your community members and helps them more, that's amazing. Because my gift in life is, or my, not my gift, my goal in life is to share the gift of yoga with the world. And the more people that get empowered by you sharing this message of yoga with others, like the better the tree is, like the better the offering tree is for everybody. So let's do this. Knowing the retreater. That's me in Peru in the Sacred Valley at Wilcatica. That venue's freaking amazing. If Peru's on your list, go to Wilcatica. You will not be disappointed. Getting to know that retreater. So who is it that's in your community that would want to take a trip with you? And what do they like actually want? Is it like, do you have a luxury retreat kind of group? Do you have a luxury vibe, like wherever your community is, like that wants higher quality products, Michelin restaurants nearby, like that deluxe sea view room overlooking the island of Capri in Italy? private catamarans and driving around with wine tasting and luxury spa. Like, is that your community? Like that's one, that's kind of like getting to know, like, okay, I think that sounds like them. Is it more of the eco adventure, like resort run off like solar panels, vegan, vegetarian meals, adventures, like maybe more like, into the jungle, like zip lining and hiking, going in a cenote or a sweat lodge, surfing. Like, is that the vibe of your community with like maybe shared housing and bathrooms as opposed to like ensuite stuff with five-star luxury? Maybe. Or do you have kind of like a blend, like the easygoing group that could like down to do it on an adventure, more eco style, but can also afford maybe the luxury five-star experience, kind of like open to whatever it is that you're doing because they trust you and they want to just be around you and the people you bring around. So just think about that. Like, who is it? When you think about what kind of clients you had that want to go on a retreat, think about like the first five people that come to your head. That's probably the general sense, my guess. The first 5 to 10 people that come to mind when you're like, this is who I'd want to travel with. Like, this is who has been talking to me about this. I would assume some of you that are here today, people have already been asking you, like, hey, when are we going to do one of those retreats? Am I wrong? I bet you I'm not wrong. They've been asking you, like, when are we going to do one of those trips? I keep seeing them on the internet, or that studio over there is doing it. Like, why aren't you doing it? Like, I want to go with you. Can we go somewhere? And so that's why you're here, because you're like, shit, I got to figure this out. And so think of those people. And that's probably the product of like the collective that would want to send it with you on your first trip, or maybe like whatever trip number this might be for you. So just like, who are your ideal clients that would want to do this experience with you? Consider them first before you start thinking about like, I'll just post it on social media and whoever shows up, shows up. No, no, no. Who are the ride or dies that are there with you? Those are the first priority ones. Let's think about like intention, location, kind of venue and itinerary. Let's just go a little bit deeper into this. So, what is your intention for this retreat? Is it a vacation with yoga? Is it like a deep inner work retreat, a detox retreat, a real cultural immersion? Like what the nutrition retreat, like what is your intention for hosting this? Your why because you wrote that down, like why you want to do it. What is your intention behind doing it? Like what do you want people to kind of, when you put this kind of like schedule together or itinerary together, like what is it centered around? For me, in our groups, it's oftentimes um adventure and like cultural immersion, just getting to really experience culture, which is like cooking classes, local hikes, local guides with the town tour, like things like this, that you get to experience the culture of an area that you're not familiar with, and having an adventure along the way, and then obviously the yoga and the practice of that too. Those are the kind of things. Your intention should be really supportive to your clients and reflect the types of things they already enjoy learning from you. And they want to take those steps deeper. Like they already like learning yoga from you, or else they probably wouldn't want to go on this retreat with you. But it's like, okay, is the yoga that you teach them, is it more intentional? Do you talk about chakras and sound healing and, philosophy? Is that, and then you can take that into deeper layers based on the retreat that you want to cultivate for them somewhere in the world. So just thinking about what is your intention behind bringing this experience to life? And then the location. So once you have your why, once you have kind of your intention of like, okay, this is the style of retreat I want to do, the location kind of starts to reveal itself. If it's somewhere, if you, because your ideal retreat location, honestly, number one, it should be somewhere that you're already familiar with or is highly recommended from like a trusted source. And when I say like location, I mean like the actual venue itself. Because when you say Costa Rica or when you say Tulum, there are a lot of venues in Tulum and in Costa Rica. Like there's a lot of retreat venues. And I haven't been to all of them. I've been to a couple of them, more than a couple. But there's some that I would definitely highly recommend more than others, and based on like the demographic of your group and like the intention that you have for them. And so you first and foremost want to just identify those things, your why and your intention. And then after you get that together, you can start looking for like a location. And by location, it's a country, start there. And then from country, it goes down to like actual retreat center or Airbnb or hotel that you really think might serve the group for the ideal experience that you'd like to create for them. And we'll talk about how to do that as we go through this presentation today. But it suits your dreams retreaters, like their needs and desires, and it really has you excited to explore and share with people. Um, and ideally, always the place that you want to bring them to already has like tourism and already has like yoga retreats happening. If they already host yoga and wellness retreats at the place you want to go, that makes life a lot easier versus you um, creating it from scratch and like you're like pioneering the experience there or renting an Airbnb in the middle of the jungle and having to figure that all out by yourself. It's really hard that way. So just some things to consider. This is us in Costa Rica. This is two different venues. But this is just like an idea of just like, hey, we want to bring together in a place that's like we like to bring it where it's like kind of like off, not off the grid, but it's more like it's our own group here. We love that those kind of retreats are our favorite, where it's like we're the only group at the venue. Doesn't always work out that way. But in an ideal world, if I could do that every time, everywhere in the world, I would do that. But it just doesn't always happen. Where you can create a space and a safe container for your community to come together. So just like us in the jungle, I wanted to share with you. Finding the venue. So there's three different kinds of venues that we just kind of mentioned. One is a yoga retreat center. That's ideal, or a wellness center. Those are ideal. Number two is a hotel that's maybe like more of a boutique hotel or but has like other regular guests there. That's okay. But they have a designated space for yoga and it serves your intention behind hosting the experience for the group. It has those capabilities available to you, those amenities available to you. Lastly, is an Airbnb or like a VRBO that you would rent out. That's like the other option, right? So it's a yoga retreat center, which is ideal, a hotel, or an Airbnb. Those are really like the three. Those are like the three kind of venues that you can work with. And we'll talk about the difference between the three of them once we get to the cost and accommodations. But just to give you some ideas of like what that kind of looks like, renting a whole venue and having a space just for your group, or renting, rooms in a hotel with a space for yoga, or renting an Airbnb that's like just your group there as well. But there's a lot more work involved in that we'll talk about later. So once you go from there, it's like, okay, now I have an idea of like, again, why, intention, kind of a lot of you already have an idea of kind of where I want to go. And then it's like going into like finding the right venue. And when you find the right venue, the way you find the venues, you have your intention, you kind of source a venue. Maybe you have a recommendation from someone, and you can kind of talk to them about the itinerary that you like to create, something that you like to cultivate at this place. And it's nice to start thinking about all of this stuff now. Everything we're talking about right now is pre-work. You're not getting paid any money to do any of this work, $0. And that's and it's hard because this is about 100. The whole process will take you over 100 hours. I'll tell you. Don't do the math on how much money you're going to make because you're not going to want to do it. Don't do the math on that. Just think this is a long-term play and you're going to create something really amazing for your community. And once you do it one time, it's easier to continue to repeat it. But in the beginning, right now, we're all dredging and doing all the hard work right now before we even ask anybody for money and before we even find out how much, like, if we can actually do this. This is the vetting part. Okay. So you kind of have an idea of a venue and you kind of have an idea of like, this is the stuff I want to do on the retreat. Breath work, yoga, breakfast, a group excursion, have some lunch, do a workshop, have some free time, have some dinner. This is like a basic like, day on a retreat. I've done a lot of them. And this is like kind of like this is a good day. If you can do this a couple times, 4 or 5 times during that trip, that 7 days or 8 days, like you had a really good time. And so this is just a high level itinerary. And you should think of yours. Like, what is a high level itinerary for you? Whether even if it's a 2 day retreat or a 1 day experience, like what does that kind of look like for you that you'd like to create for somebody? And the best itineraries have a healthy balance of practice, meals, excursions and community time, and then free time for reflection, or they do whatever they want, but free time. And it's really important that when you're creating these itineraries or having these thoughts of like what you want to do, um, that you find a balance of that. And a good way to know what a balance kind of feels like is if you've gone on a retreat before. And if you've never ever gone on a retreat, the first step in hosting the yoga retreat is going on a yoga retreat. honestly. In order to host a yoga retreat, it's highly recommended that you go on a retreat first so that you can understand the flow and like how they work. If you haven't gone on one yet, like maybe this is an invitation to come on mine, shameless plug for myself. I'll share with you at the end. But if not, just go on whoever's you want to go on. Um, and in an even better ideal world is if you can go on a retreat at a venue or a country where you actually want to host a group and you go to someone else's retreat there first and you get to kind of vet it. You get to experience it. You get to create all the content on your phone. You get to like actually feel the culture and be part of it so that when you're ready to launch yours, you've already experienced it and can really speak from your heart and have like the content to do it. And if you happen to be also the other way to do it, another way is if you're from that country, and you already know everything about that country, then you can do that too. But just some little tips as we're going through this thing. But even if you don't go on my retreat, you should definitely go on a retreat to be able to host a retreat. Cool. And then after you've kind of done this, you got your why, you got your intention, you got your vibe, you got an itinerary, you got some ideas, you got some excitement, you got some energy. Maybe make a mood board, right? Make a little mood board for yourself. It's like a vision board. Make a little mood board. You can make it as the mood board as the background of your phone. Like a little, when you go on Instagram, they have like where you can make 6 different slides or whatever, or Canva. This is made on Canva. You can just make a little mood board for yourself for a retreat that you want to host, and it's just for you. It's like, okay, and every time you see it, guess what happens every time you see it? It's like, oh, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. And we activate the reticular activating system. And every time, like, all of a sudden you're driving down the road, you see a restaurant called like Mykonos. You're like, I'm going to do that. And then you freaking do that. And so just all these subconscious seeds we plant for ourselves and having the right mindset from creating the vision in phase one, doing a little bit of homework, some conversations with maybe some venues that you're curious about hosting at. And then we kind of get into a mood board, holding that vision. And then we go into phase two. Before we get there, how are we feeling? This is a picture of me jumping in the air. It was a promo photo with my friend Taz Rashid, if you know DJ Taz Rashid. How are we feeling out there? You feeling excited? You feeling energized? You feeling ready to do this damn thing? Tell me how you feeling in the chat. Just put it in the chat. How are you feeling out there in the chat? Let me know. Sandy says she's going to Tulum on Sunday. Amazing. Use that to support and vet locations for a future retreat. Fantastic. Leticia, amazing, amazing, amazing. How you feeling out there? Let me know in the chat. Don't leave me hanging. And make sure you're hydrating. Make sure you're hydrating. If you're not hydrating, you got to go get some water. Karen, we'll talk a little bit about that, where the clients are going to come from. And that's kind of like in the next slides.
Helen says she's feeling inspired.
Helen, let's go. Helen's amazing. Helen's in our mentorship community. Again, shameless plug for the mentorship. If you want to come into our mentorship community, just let me know after. I'll show you a link to be able to work with me. No worries. You're all good. But we're doing awesome. We're rocking and rolling. We're feeling good. We'll keep the energy high. And just remember, we're just starting where we are. Puja, financials scare me the most. Understandable. Totally understandable. And we'll talk about how to make sure that you don't go into financial ruin. But there is a level. Um, and I will say this, a mentor told me this one time. Um, there's a level that happens. I'm gonna wait and share that after I get to the next part. Let's keep going. Pooja, I got you. Don't worry. It's understandable though. It's understandable. Phase two. Let's talk about the timeline of like actually bringing one of these things to life in my best recommendations. The community pulse, which is the most important, pricing your retreat tips, and then like some sales and marketing tips. This is a picture of me. That's my beautiful wife. Her name is Summer, and we do our retreat stuff together. And she's amazing. So anyway, she's not here right now though. I'm here. So here we go. Our timeline. When we're vetting venues and we're thinking about bringing a retreat to life for the first time, we like to think 12 to 14 months out when we are actually like putting this together. I have retreats in my pipeline right now that I'm thinking about for November of 2026. That's, I don't know, forever and a half away. But it's on my calendar that I'm going to host a retreat at this place in November of 2026. That's how far in advance that we're thinking. Okay. Before I get to that November retreat in 2026, I'm hosting 9 other ones before I get there. That's a lot of retreats. Not everybody's going to be able to do that, and that's okay. Or nobody, maybe they don't want to do that. You just want to do one. That's great. But you have to think far, far in advance. So we think that far ahead, we're researching. 11 months out, I'm like in this hype phase of like getting everybody excited and ready, pushing them, getting them, involved in the decision making, or and just getting them excited about like wanting to do this thing and send it on a retreat. And then we open up the wait list. Usually we just start selling to the wait list and offering the retreat out to the people that are like in our inner circle and building the machine. From there, we just educate people on the benefits of the retreat and why we're doing it. This is kind of like marketing timelines now, and then we're just selling the retreat and hosting it. But this is just like kind of give you an idea of how far out we think a lot of times. That doesn't necessarily mean you can't do one in April of 2026. You can totally do that, But we just sometimes, in order to get the best venues and you need to book it that far in advance. For an example, Anamaya Resort in Costa Rica. Has anyone ever heard of that place? It's fucking amazing. The best retreat center, one of the best retreat centers in the world. You have to book it like 18 months in advance. And like that's a really hard commitment. That's a lot to think about. So maybe that's not right for the first one, but just gives you an idea of like as you're building your retreat business and as you're becoming a retreat leader, forward thinking a year or 18 months in advance is not crazy at all. By any means, it's not crazy. It's actually pretty normal for most retreat leaders that I know that I surround myself with that we're thinking that far ahead all the time. All right, let's talk about getting the community pulse. Let's do this thing. Throughout the entire process of bringing a retreat to life, I'm in constant communication with our community and seeing where they're at as far as like where they want to go, what they're excited about learning about. And and if I know that I'm going somewhere November 26th, I'm talking about that now, just casually talking about like places that I want to go. Like I want to go to Finland. I want to go to Kenya. I want to go to Iceland again. And like when I casually talk about it in groups with our community at your studio or at the after class, you kind of get the idea of like people that are interested in that and that people are not interested in that. So getting community pulse and feedback is just kind of really important as you're thinking about bringing that retreat to life. Just be talking about it, be genuinely open about it that you're wanting to do something like this and get the pulse and the feedback from them. Um, Now that you know, let's just for example, now that you know the dream retreat you are envisioning and you have your ideal students in mind, let's see, it's time to really see who's interested in exploring with you. So once I have done the process of going through the phase one steps of I know I want to host it here. I know this is the time of year I want to go. This is the venue I want to go. I'm ready to like kind of pull the trigger on this thing and do this thing. I'm gonna ask the people I've already kind of talked to about this and mentioned to about it. I'm gonna like be seriously. I'm gonna pull 10 community members about my preliminary retreat plan. This is before I've deposited the money. This is maybe I've had a conversation with the venue and got an idea of like what it takes to bring an experience to life there, like monetarily, time of year, maybe space they have available. I'm gonna once I've kind of done that with a venue and I've called them and talked to them and looked at it on the internet and made TripAdvisor reviews, like all my homework is kind of like vetted and been done. I'm gonna reach out to 10 of my like 10 most inner circle. And if I have like three or four people immediately that are like, hell yeah, I'll deposit now. If you get that kind of feedback, that's a pretty good sign to move forward with it. That's a pretty good sign. If a year in advance, someone's willing to give you like 750 bucks or 500 bucks as a deposit, if three or four or five people are like ready to do that immediately, you probably got something cooking here. The next part of that, as Pooja said, is the energy really changes when you reach out to your community and ask them, they give you feedback, and that the nervous part of making the financial commitment, of making the deposit, is totally normal. But when you put all of your energy into the boat and you put your skin in the game, you have money in the game on a deposit, your energy changes, and now you're going to sell this trip. You're going to be really excited to host this experience and bring your community together. And when you have that level of excitement, we're not going to use the word fear, we'll use the word excitement, nerves. Like the nerves are the same, like it signals kind of a very similar response of like fear or nervousness and excitement. Like it kind of when as a yoga instructor, if you're a yoga instructor, you kind of know that inside of you, that same butterfly feeling. But we use those nerves as energy and channel in a positive way as excitement to be able to get other people excited to join us for an experience. And so before I do anything, I'm talking to my people. And like this is an example of like a personal touch message I send. This is not from ChatGPT. I actually wrote this, but something like take a picture of it if you want. But this is how I reach out to my community. I'm talking to my community all the time. And our community is huge. Been doing this for a really long time. Been teaching for 14 years, leading retreats since 2018. And are teaching for 12 years. I can't remember anymore. I have three kids, so I'm blaming on them. But my point is having the pulse on your community and always being in constant communication with the different members of your community is really, really, really important. That's how you find the people. Someone asked earlier in the chat, like, I'm just nervous about finding the people. Like, how do I have the clients or the students to be able to want to do this? Um, it goes back to like literally having the pulse from your community and having to continue to have these conversations with them over and over and over again. Really, really important. Just having the pulse at all times is essential. Um, Real quick in the chat. So Letitia said, "What's the typical booking window?" What do you mean by booking window? Because I'm curious about that. Like when that if I wasn't clear on that, like just ask that question again in the chat with a little more detail. And Jackie, I don't know which slide you were talking about. Write it in the chat and I'll just give you an answer. Timeline for booking the venue, a year to 12 to 18 months. 12 to 18 months out. 12 months is usually probably better. But like, yeah, that's when I usually book the venue about a year in advance-ish, sometimes up to 18 months in advance. The timeline grid, I don't remember. Let me see if I can go back. Um, oh, this one. Yeah, here you go. Screenshot it if you like. Bam. Take a pic. Cool. Got you. No worries. You got it. All right, let's move forward. Any other questions that come up along the way, let me know in the chat or forever hold your questions. All right. If this isn't the most entertaining thing that you go to today, well, I don't know what else. I want to go to whatever else you're going to. So, like I said earlier, based on the feedback that you get and the high interest that you get, you can make a deposit, on the venue if they require one, which I don't know any venues that don't require a deposit, except for like one, which was strange, but I wanted to give them money because I really wanted to make sure they were going to hold the rooms. Um, and then, but if not, like if you don't get the feedback that you're looking for, right? You don't want to invest five or 1,000 or 5,000 or $10,000 for a deposit on a venue if like your community's not really if they're not really backing it. And so from there, after you pull your 10 innermost community members that you think would be, want to send it on this retreat, take that feedback and maybe go back to the drawing board. Like, what did they tell you? What were they looking for? What do they want? Or are they just not interested? And sometimes people will tell you, like, they'll tell you, like, oh, yeah, I think I might be interested in that. But you got to really read the room. You got to really read the room if, like, they're really interested or not, because you have no skin in the game yet, and you haven't maybe done your pricing yet. And so you're just getting community feedback before you put, further skin into the game. But once you get the feedback from them, how do we price it? Like, how do we actually, like, put it together a budget? So I'm not going to put together a whole budget with you because that's a lot, but I'll just give you some high level ideal considerations, and then you would have to put it together on your own, or we can work together at the end, and I'll tell you about that another time. But have a general sense, first things first, have a general sense of what other retreat leaders are pricing their retreats at and what they're including in their programming in the location that you like to go to. If it's the exact same venue, that makes it a lot easier because you already have an idea of like what everybody's charging to go there. And not everybody charges the same amount, and that's okay. But what are they charging to do their retreat at a specific location? If it's like in a general region of a country, like what are teachers generally charging to go to this region of the country to host a retreat there? This is really, really important because a lot of times your retreaters, um, one, they're paying because you're leading it and they want to go with you. But if they're not paying because they want to go with you, they just want to go to Costa Rica. Well, you could probably go to Costa Rica for less, but it's just not going to be like an intimate group experience with all of your friends from the studio. It's going to be a different experience. But you want to make sure your pricing isn't like one, underpriced, or two, like significantly overpriced, you know? So just things to consider. Market research, really important. Once you do your market research, the venue that you talk to before you sign a contract, they're going to give you the cost for the accommodations. They're going to tell you how much it costs to rent the venue or to, rent a room for a single occupancy or rent it for double occupancy or triple occupancy, you know. And those are the kind of questions for the venue. Is like, does each guest have a fixed cost? Or you have to create a budget based on the projections of how many attendees you're likely going to have. And I'll tell you about like kind of if that sounds confusing, we'll go over like what that means in the next slide. And this is a really important part. There's two examples that we're going to talk about today. Example one is you're renting rooms in a hotel and being able to surrender any rooms that you don't book, meaning that you wouldn't have to pay for those rooms, hopefully, that don't actually sell out. If you rented 10 rooms and you only sold 8 rooms, you could give those other two back to the venue probably like 60 days before your retreat. You didn't sell them, you just give them back to the venue and they would resell them or whatever they want. And you wouldn't have to pay for those. And the retreat hotel just rents you rooms. We're just using an example of 200 bucks a night. And then you would add on your additional costs for like whatever the meals you wanted to include in your retreat. If you wanted 3 meals a day, or maybe you only want 2 meals a day. If you want to add any excursions, these hotels and these retreat centers, they have relationships with all of the people, the the adventure companies or like the cooking class, the vendors, the chefs, they have relationships with all of them. They'll be able to help you most likely set it up. And so they'll give you a pricing sheet. And so from there, you would just add on the price of the excursion to your $200 a night per person, and any other add-ons you might want to have. Other add-ons might look like maybe you want to include a massage or a spa treatment for everybody for coming on the retreat. You just add that into the budget per person. Really, it's included in the retreat, but it's just included in the overall price. The person's actually paying for it. It's just included in the overall price. They don't know, the guest doesn't know how much the room costs per night, how much you're charging as a retreat fee, how much the horseback riding experience is. They just know they're paying $3,000 and they get all this awesome stuff, and that's all they need to know. They don't want to have to figure it all out. If they did, they wouldn't be going on a group retreat. They would just be going to Costa Rica by themselves and they'd figure it out themselves. The person that wants to go on a retreat wants to just have it all figured out for them and they want to go with you. So this is example one. And this is really the like kind of an ideal example for a first-time retreat leader. Find a hotel that can rent you specific rooms. If you don't sell the rooms, you can return them back at a certain time frame for no fee, or yeah, no fee is ideal. And then you'll be able to have the other rooms that you booked and add on any additional excursions or meals or adventures that you wanted to into their budget. Does that make sense? First time retreat leader, that's highly recommended. That's what I tell everybody that I work with. Like, let's find a venue like this for your first time. The other alternative is to rent an entire venue, such as an entire boutique yoga hotel, let's call it, wellness resort. You rent the whole thing out, or an Airbnb. You rent the whole thing out. But regardless of how many people sign up, you're on the hook for the entire venue. Let's pretend your Airbnb is 10 grand to rent out an Airbnb. Well, if you only have 3 people that sign up for your retreat and they all paid like $2,000, you're at a loss. You know, if you have a retreat, but if it fit 10 people, but you only sold 3, it's not going to work, you know? So you have to be able to take an example two is you take the entire venue with the number of rooms that you have available or beds that you have available, and you create individual projected budgets based on if I sell out every bed in this venue and I charge this amount, how much is my projected income? How much is that going to yield? Same thing for, but there's other costs besides the venue, of course. There's cost of food, there's the cost of your travel, which we'll talk about in a minute. There's additional costs. But the idea is if you rent an entire venue, you have to divvy up the cost of the rooms based on how much you think you could sell them for to be able to cover all of the costs and then add the additional, retreat leader fee that we'll talk about so you can actually make a profit on it because no one wants to just go there and break even. Like that's not the point of this experience. It's way too much work. Um, Cool. Soraya, we'll get to your question towards the end. And Jackie, what's a good size for the first one? I always recommend a good question. I didn't say that in the beginning, and I should have. Great question, Jackie. 10 people. If you know that 10 people is ideal, if you can get it on a minimum, in my opinion, minimum 10, minimum 10. So if you don't have 10 people in your community right now that in the next year, if you don't think you could sell 10 people to go to a group trip, it might not be time yet. So you go back to the drawing board of just like building your community. And how can I do that more? I can be more intentional with like my relationships I'm building before and after class, host a community, breakfast event, host a social gathering, a meetup, just get people more involved with connecting with one another and connecting with you. Like that's how we start. It's the community is everything. If we don't have the community that's willing, that can, or is just not ready to support like a group travel international experience, then that's what we have to work on, is that part before we actually build the retreat. It's just build the community. So I would say 10 people ideally for the first one at the any of them minimum is 10. So Ryan, we'll come back to that question. So Sandy, if you could just parking lot that one for later, that'd be great. Just note it or something so that I can come back to that one. I would appreciate it. Cool. Um, but on top of your cost for accommodations, the other things to consider are, again, excursions, meals, transportation to and from the venue. We never include, and nobody should ever include the actual airfare. Airfare is always purchased on your own because God only knows how they like to fly, where they're flying from, that kind of stuff is all on their own. Transportation to and from the venue, you can choose to include it in there, or you cannot choose to include it. Sometimes the venue includes it themselves. That's a question for each individualized retreat is different. Um, Oftentimes we'll include the transportation because it just makes life easier. Again, you just add it into the cost of the overall retreat. They don't know that they paid for it, or maybe they do. It's just in the lump sum cost, and you don't have to do a line item for that for each individual person. Other things you can consider adding in for your programming is like cost of the spa, the workshop, like that, additional specialty workshops or like a VIP experience. Maybe you have a VIP dinner with like one or two guests if you're doing specialty, work with them, and they can pay for that. Additionally, you want to configure making sure that your expenses, your personal travel expenses and stuff like that is added into the budget. This is a line item like Pedro's expenses, his flight, his hotel, all that stuff. Like you want to add that in as an expense to make sure that your net profit after you charge everything for your accommodations, your excursions, your expenses, that you're going to be left with something left over. And how do we ensure that? We add in a retreat leader fee, right? So your retreat leader fee, making sure the amount of times I've talked to people like, well, how do I get paid? I'm like, this. You just add in a fee for yourself. Do you want to make $500 a person? Do you want to make $1,000 a person? You can put in whatever number you want, but you have to make sure that the number that you put in is going to go back to that market research. If your cost for accommodations and your food and your excursions is, I'm just making this up, is $2,000, and you add a retreat leader fee in of 1,000. So now your overall cost for a customer to come to your trip is 3,000. Is that comparable to what other people are offering in Costa Rica, in Tulum, Mexico? Is $3,000 like is that, are you overpriced? You know, and it's okay to be expensive, but you don't want to price yourself out. I would say it's not okay to underprice yourself ever. You don't need to do that. You're worthy of receiving all of the money that because this is going to be a lot of work. You're worthy of receiving every penny, but you don't want to overprice and then nobody comes because it's too expensive. That sucks. Cool. Um, Rachel, I would say 700 to 1,000 for a week. If you're going on a week retreat, like somewhere a thousand, I would say more 1,000 now, like 1,000 to 1,500 is like kind of normal for like a luxe retreat, like 1,000 to 1,500 a person, somewhere in that ballpark range. If it's like a more of an eco retreat or less days, you obviously just take the fee down a little bit. Between 700, 1,000 is a good base number. But again, it just comes back to your budget. Like when you go back to the budget and you put the numbers in and you're charging someone whatever you're going to charge them, it has to make sense. So sometimes there's venues that I want to host at, and I'm like, it's just so expensive to cover all the base costs. If I add my $1,500 retreat leader fee on here per person or $1,000 a person, like I'm priced out. Like the venue doesn't make sense then. And so I have to go find a different venue. So yeah, just somewhere in that ballpark range is pretty typical, Rachel. Cool. Here's a few sales tips we just kind of talked about, just to recap. Sell to the 10 people in your inner circle first. Those are the most important people that you're going to talk to about this trip. Then you make like a little wait list and a little hype list. You get excited and you can launch it to them. I always recommend for the first time for sure, have like a discount early bird pricing date that you're going to end by, and to create urgency. Because if you launch your retreat a year in advance and no one's ever gone on a retreat with you and there's no added incentive for them to book it in advance, they're just going to wait. Like, why do I need to commit to a year from now when I don't know? They need to have an added incentive. So early bird discount pricing is always recommended. Um, you can host an info session. Here's a little sales tip, something that I've just started doing more recently. after you're right before your early bird pricing ends, or you get excited, like you find the venue, you book it out, you got the thing ready to go. You can have an info session, and so this info session is like an opportunity. It's basically a sales call where you get people excited, just like this. You tell them, you show them the images, you talk about the itinerary, you talk about the pricing, and you make them feel really comfortable with making the decision to, pay $3,000. I'm just making that number up, to come on a retreat with you. And then you have a strategy, of course, with your emails and your social media, and you just keep nurturing your audience with subtle selling. You're always subtly selling something. Every time you're talking about your yoga classes and how much you enjoyed teaching today, like you're subtly selling someone on the idea of like, I should go to that class tomorrow. I should go to that class next week. It's the same thing with your retreats. You're just subtly talking about it. And sometimes there's that jab, 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 right hook, which is like from Gary Vaynerchuk, if anybody knows Gary V, where it's just like you're adding value, adding value, and then like sign up for this retreat, you know? And so just thinking about different strategies that work for you, and everybody's sales approach in their business is unique and different, but it's a long process. And you got to keep your mindset sharp and you got to stay abundant in possibilities. Sometimes people don't sign up for like there's a month or two gap when nobody signed up, you know? And then all of a sudden two or three people sign up out of nowhere. That's great. The process is really long. We just need to keep talking about the desired outcome and transformation and how your retreat is going to help them achieve that result. And you just keep that as part of your business. And this is just one part of your business, but it's an added part that can bring in 10, 5, 10, 20, $50,000 if you just keep working on it and building it. Um, and this is just images from my website, just to give you an idea. And Offering Tree is a really great way for you to like build canvases and like build a template for your retreat to be able to have this on Offering Tree. This one is not built on there, but I've looked at plenty of ones that are built on Offering Tree. It's a perfect all-in-one platform for teachers that want to just like have their regular classes, collect emails, have somebody sign up for something, like host a retreat. Like you can do all this on the Offering Tree platform that Sinead kind of mentioned in the beginning. And this just gives you an idea of like the imagery and like creating the ideas of like how does somebody sign up for something like this? It's like, okay, I have like cool sales, I got a cover image, tell them like kind of like what this is about. I'll plug a link to this at the end because I know we're like a little bit short on time. Um, but you're just kind of creating the idea and like the imagery of just like what this looks like. And no, if you have not gone to the place before, maybe you don't have the pictures, like you can use stock images. Like this one in the top left corner is a stock image. So is this one over here. These are ones that my photographer actually took on the right side. But before I sold the retreat, I never been to this venue. I was just trusting it was going to work out because I knew the owner of the venue. And so I just had some pictures from other friends that had gone there before, or the internet had the pictures. And you dream up the vision. I dreamed of myself in this pool overlooking the ocean at Anamaya Resort in Costa Rica. I dreamed of that vision during COVID. And I was like, one day I'm going to bring a group there. Like one day I'm going to do it. Like 2 years, 2.5 years later, like I freaking did it, but it took me 2.5 years to get there. So just hold the vision, and you create this little aesthetic of just like having an itinerary, creating the sales page, like pricing it on your website. And it's always nice to have a little FAQ on your website and a little about you, and your retreat leaders. And if you don't have any testimonials on your site because you haven't done one before, use some testimonials for something else that you led people through transformation. Before you do the thing the first time, like you have no proof of concept. That's okay. You have the trust that you've already built with your community. So they're going to come anyway because they trust you, even though you haven't gone to Mexico yet. They still trust you. Um, so yeah. So now you have kind of like, you got a lot going on now. We've had a lot of conversation today, or I have talked a lot. Let's do a community cheers. Grab your water bottle. Community cheers. I can't see on the camera except Sinead, but community cheers. And like what does that momentum look like? Sinead, go ahead. If you want to say something, go ahead.
No, I was going to go back to Sarah's question earlier about how do you stay in communication with your community. I love that question. Like, do you have a
Yeah,
Facebook group or is it in person, emails?
yeah, totally. And so I would ask her one more question. Is that like um when you're selling the retreat, when you're on the retreat, when you're just like talking to people all the time, or just like me, I'm just communicating with my community in any way I can. Some are text message, some are email, some are in person, some are on DM, like some are on memes, like they're all different way. Yeah. So when you're selling the retreat, yeah. Some like obviously you need to have a nice landing page. You need to have a little website platform for someone to actually like click and make a deposit. But you are during that process, it's like I don't have like a Facebook event for it. I just have it listed on our website. And then email marketing, a lot of email marketing and text message marketing. And that goes back to the very first step of this whole process where having a community built that is willing to and can financially support going on a retreat. And the way you do that is you just like, you just build your business and you build your email list. And Offering Tree is a great place to build, have your email list being built. You can do that right there on Offering Tree. Any other service will work too, but you just having a way of constant communication with your people, and if you don't have a good way of communication with them, like it makes it really hard because people need to see things a lot of times before they purchase it sometimes. I had somebody purchase the retreat that we're doing on a yacht in Croatia. They booked it yesterday. Um, and I haven't talked to her, I don't, in like 2.5 years, but she's been on my email list and she just keeps getting the emails for like a long time because she moved away. But she's still in communicate. I'm still communicating with her. And then she just signed up for the trip. And I was like, holy cow, like Maria's coming on the trip. I haven't seen her in forever and a half. And it was because she's still on the email list. So email is essential. Like email is the number one way, along with text messaging. Text message marketing is great if you have that available. I know Offering Tree is bringing that soon, text message marketing as well. So,
Yeah, it actually went live on Tuesday. We just
oh, there
introduced
you
it.
go. Well, it's already live. You
That's
know,
a great plug. I have a
yeah,
quick question for you, Pedro.
yeah.
Have you ever had a retreat go sideways or kind of be a flop? And how did you
What kind of
handle it?
sideways?
Yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes they go to the left. Here's the deal. I was in Portugal 2 weeks ago. The power went out in the entire country. I was on a retreat with 24 people from around the world. We're in Portugal, power goes out in the whole country. Um, we were on a hike on the Fisherman's Trail hike, if anyone's ever been to Portugal. It was amazing. And we get into the lunch spot, we walk into town, and they're like, there's no power. We're like, all right. They're like, no, no, like there's no power in the country. We're like, what? And so in that moment, you look at your phone and like the data was still working, but 20 minutes later, the data went out. It went on SOS. No communication, can't get out. And so when you're in that moment, the most important part is that as the retreat leader, you just stay calm. The energy that we give off as the leader of the retreat, just like when we're teaching a class or hosting an event or a workshop, the energy that we emit from ourselves to the collective is the same that we're going to get back. And so if we're able to be the calm in the boat, let's call it, the others that are around us are gonna they're gonna kind of like fall into line with how you're thinking and how you're feeling. If you start freaking out, you already know what's gonna happen. Everybody's freaking out. And so just remaining calm, and having the best laid plan when you plan your itinerary, plan the venue, done your homework, are freaking committed, and just having the best laid plan. And then if things go to the left, like sometimes you just gotta flow with it for a minute and then you just bring it back to center, but always expecting the unexpected in group travel and international experiences. Like it just kind of happens, and then how we respond to it is what is the character building opportunity, and how we respond to it is how our community is going to respond, and they're going to feel safe and secure, or are they going to freak out and want to leave, you know?
Mhm.
So it's up to you as a leader to just hold the space for them. So yeah.
That's so smart. Yeah, it makes me think of being on an aircraft and you get turbulence and you're looking at the staff.
Yeah.
Should I be
If they're
panicking? Is everything
yeah, if this
okay?
exactly, if the staff is chill, ain't nothing to worry
Yeah,
about. The staff's freaking
yeah,
out, running around, sound the alarm,
yeah,
be the calm in the
yeah.
boat.
Pooch is just saying, adding to that last question, what is the most
Uh,
important trouble you encounter on retreats? What
uh,
can typically go wrong?
I'm okay. So my wife will tell you I'm the eternal optimist, and I believe I am too. And so I'm not trying to think about all the things that go wrong, think about all the things that go right, and knowing that when something does go wrong, then I'm just going to be able to approach it from a place of calm, and I'm going to figure it out. And I'm just going to figure it out if something happens. Sometimes people get sick on retreat or like on some people travel internationally and they just like, I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but some people just get sick of, just from traveling, traveler's disease, like traveling, just get upset stomach, that kind of stuff. Just love on them, just take care of them. My friend Francisco tells me all the time, he's my mentor. He's like, for the next week, we're just going to love and take care of people. Like we're just going to care for them and we're going to hold space for them. And if we do that, they're going to want to come back and they're going to have a really great time. And if they're going through a hard time on the retreat, like maybe they got sick or they just weren't feeling good one day or their energy was low or they had a hard practice and they're just like kind of like want to chill out, give them permission to chill out. talk to them, hold space for them, and then just carry forward, you know? And so, yeah,
It's great advice.
totally,
That is awesome
totally.
advice. Well,
And I know we're wrapping up on time, but I just want to share two links with you. If you've took it, now here's some key takeaways. This is a nice slide. You want to take a picture of this one. Number one, getting our community involved in the destination of your dream choice, where you want to host that dream retreat before you fully commit, like getting your community involved and getting the pulse. Number one. Number two, make sure you vet the venue well before you actually commit to it. How do you vet it? You call them, you talk to them, you look on the internet, you ask friends that have been there, ask them for referrals. Is there any retreat leaders that have gone on your trips before that I could talk to? Talk to them. Make sure you get your budget tight and your projections made before signing any contracts. Does it make sense for me to actually put the retreat together here? If I can only bring 10 people, am I still going to make any money? Probably, but like how much money? If it's $2,000, is the juice worth the squeeze? I don't know. That's up to you. If I can bring 20 people, if I'm going to make $50,000, like shoot, I'm going to do that. So just like thinking about your budget. Think about crafting an itinerary with that healthy balance of practice, meals, excursion, community, and free time. Have a good launch strategy of like before you actually launch this to the masses, like what does that look like for your marketing, for your text messaging, for social media marketing? Like what does that kind of stuff look like? Take a look at the sales page that I shared here on my website about just like an easy sales page, like a way to take payments, like offering tree. You just click, make a payment, like make your deposit, book your room now. And setting the right expectation, is really important. I know I've said it like really important a lot, but all these things are so important. Like just set the right expectation for the group and stay really organized, for yourself. So stay organized with your spreadsheet, your data, when people sign up, how to keep track of it on a Google spreadsheet is a great way. I keep track of everything on Google Sheets, name, email, phone, what room they're in, how much they've paid, all that stuff. Like stay organized on your spreadsheets and your budget sheets. And don't forget to stay hydrated. Cheers again. Stay hydrated. Take a picture of that. And like your next steps at this point, go ahead, Sinead.
I was just going to say, Jackie said a quick question. Do you typically need
Mm.
an assistant on site to protect your
Good question.
energy?
Yeah.
Great question.
So there's a couple different thoughts on that. Uh, I'm I like to do them with I do them with my wife. We do them a lot together, so we're working together. If you collaborated with a friend, like, is it cool to do that? Sure. Like, it's always nice to collaborate, especially if you have a smaller community and they have a smaller community, but you want to do something together, and the communities are like kind of like-minded. And you offer things that complement, but also like elevate each other's stuff. Like that might be a really good opportunity to collaborate with them. And so you just have to make sure the money works though. Like if we split 50-50 on the retreat profit, does it actually work? Or can I, if you have an assistant, Jackie, like you do the retreat and like you bring another teacher with you and they maybe teach some of the classes, and like maybe they share a room with you and you don't charge them for the accommodation because like the maths and it makes sense to bring them and maybe they just pay for their flight and they just get a whole retreat for a week and they just paid for their flight, and they get to come with you. Um, if that makes sense. It just depends. All the accommodations are different, so it just has to really make sense to be able to bring somebody else and put them in the budget. Because sometimes, like I've brought a photographer with me, they only charge me $1,000 to do all the photos, but I had to pay for all their meals for a week, all their flights, and all their excursions. It cost me like 4 grand to bring that photographer. I love that photographer though, so I was willing to pay it, and I knew it was going to be worth the investment because I had 52 people on a retreat. Like it was going to be worth it, and it was worth it 20 times over, But it cost me 4 grand. But it was a $4,000 investment, is how I put it in my head, and I wasn't wrong. I wasn't wrong. Um, Pooja, Sinead just shared it. And so your next steps are this, right? Choice one, take the information you took today, you learned and begin applying it. Start it right now. Like start the application process of building that yet dream retreat that you have. And if you need some support along the way, I'd love to work with you if you're interested in it. You can take the information you've learned. I'll be your accountability partner, your mentor, or coach. I know if Helen's here, there's another community member here that's in my mentorship group. I can tell you all of that, what that looks like. I've been doing this a long time. I've held 16 retreats all over the world with 5 more this year, 6 more next year. So a lot of freaking retreats. And once you nail the process down, like what I'll teach you is like once you nail it down, you'll be able to use that forever. You'll be able to use the skills that you've learned in the template forever, and not have to figure it all on your own. Because it takes like I said, 100+ hours of work to do this. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of energy. I don't want you to waste it. And if you want to schedule a call or to chat about what that looks like, you're like, hey, I'm curious about working alongside of you. You can just scan this QR code, or I think Sinead put it in the chat. You can just click in the chat. It's in the chat. Cool. And here's my website too. If you want to check out my website, you can do that too. So I just put some QR codes on there in case that's for you, if you're a QR code friend. But she put it in the chat, so it's all good. And yeah, I'm excited just to be able to have these conversations and like have these calls and like be able to share little bits of insight. I'm really passionate about helping teachers and wellness entrepreneurs. I'm really passionate about leading and teaching retreats. And just thanks for having me, Sinead, and offering to. I really appreciate it.
This was absolutely fantastic, and I'm sure everybody here live and at the replay feels the same. It's so inspirational to hear you chat, and you just know everything about how to make this work. Oh, that's how it feels to us. Maybe don't tell your wife that you know everything. But no, yeah, Helen's saying great website, great workshop. The coaching community is a great place to be in. I'm so excited. Oh, that's so good to hear, Helen.
Alan's a rock
And
star. Oh,
people are saying grateful. Thank you so very much. I'm so glad I found you, says Joe. I would agree. You're awesome, Pedro. And
thanks
we'll
a
be
lot.
sharing all these links. Make sure you do follow up with Pedro in there links that we share. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I started this not even wanting to host a retreat, and I'm ending this hour feeling like I really need to, or certainly to come on one of yours. Maybe I'll let you do the planning.
Dude, I got you. Just let me know where you want to go. I'll help you plan it. But you want to go to Iceland, like I'll help you get there. I know the person to connect you with. So yeah.
That is so good to know. Well, thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks everybody for being here. I appreciate you so much. And if you have any questions, just feel free to reach out and we'll see you soon.